So I'm just gonna right click here and come to fill each two step. And you see it's really short here, so we can come in here and also like to press command and circle everything and drag it out a little bit so it's a little bit easier to work with. And now we can circle it again, hover over it, press shift and drag, and then we can repeat that process, shift and drag. So obviously, you know, the hi-hat is really important in trap beats. So I think a good way to start is to put out a clap as well. So I'm gonna grab that 808 sounded nice with that. So I'm gonna put that on 27, but another clap down here. They're very similar. I'll take this one. So what I wanted to say is I think it's good to just start out by, you know, placing a very simple clap. And if you think it's easier to work in this mode, you can switch back and forth there. And this is a little annoying. That's why I don't like to work in this mode, because it's so hard to see if your sequence is a little bit longer. So you can use this mode. I prefer not to, like I said. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory how to use it. If you have any questions, you know, write it down and we'll talk about it. But I'm gonna switch back to this mode because that way you can keep this window a lot smaller too, you know. But I'm gonna go in here, and now that I have a clap also, I think it's a little easier to hear where I want to put the hi-hat rolls. So there's different ways of doing that. You can either, you know, command click the note, and then I believe it's command, no, I believe it's, let's see. You can either use option A, or which is the other one I'm using? I think it's called, yeah, I usually use the arpeggiate, and I turn off the you know, you can mess with it here in the time MUL, whatever that stands for. But I like it a lot better to just get rid of this and go to the second brush tool with a little plus sign, and you know, whatever you set the grid to is what this brush is going to paint. So, you know, for hi-hat trap beats, it usually sounds really good with 1/6 step, half step, third step, and if you want to do really fast ones, you come up here. So we'll get to that. But I think on this one, let's try half step and see how that sounds. So over here, like I think it would be kind of nice with like a really fast one. So I'll show you that. So let's go up to like 1/4 maybe. So you want to put it where it would normally be. So it's a little hard to see, but I guess it would be here. And when you do the short ones, you don't really have to do it like fill out all the way. Like it usually sounds better if you keep it a little shorter. All right, so I actually like that first half, so I'm gonna highlight that and delete it, and then Command circle everything again, switch back to the pen tool until you get this little cross, press Shift and copy it. And then I'm hearing that I think something should be there. Something like that. And sometimes it's cool to just go to like one like thirds maybe, and put them right next. Let's see. It gets a little like offbeat, but it sounds cool sometimes. And we can turn down the second one a little bit in velocity. So note velocity. Yeah, so that sounds pretty cool to me. I would probably keep it like this, but since this is a tutorial, I'm gonna show you some other things you can do. So sometimes it's cool to, bring these rolls down or up a little bit in pitch. So let's bring that down. And I usually bring the really fast ones up, but let's see how it sounds if we bring it down. No, I think I like it where it was. Let's bring this one down to create like a little, change up, so it's not exactly the same as the first half. And this one, like we can bring that down a little too. I think the second note is a little bit too low, so I'm just gonna. And you hear how these sound like really loud since we turned them down. So let's highlight those, and you press Option, and then if you have a mouse with a scroll wheel, you can scroll to like lower the velocity, or on a mouse pad, which I'm using, you just use 2 fingers. So you hold down the Option key and you just use 2 fingers on the trackpad, and you got to be in this area. It's a little unintuitive. Like you would assume you should be down here when you change it, but you got to be up here. So let's listen to that. So let's find a good level. All right, and since this is a tutorial, let me show you how to do thirds, because that's pretty important, I guess. So. Okay, so here we're gonna set it to, let's set it to 6 beat, and then you can find, let's do thirds and see. Yeah, that's a little easier. So you probably know that whatever note you click last, that's how your length is going to be. So that's how you do that. And another really cool thing that I do sometimes, I mean, you can also like just randomly bring some of these down because it creates a little, rhythm. Like, all these little things like creates a little, more, it's a little bit more interesting to the ear, but it could also be too much. Like sometimes I just literally do a straight hi-hat and like nothing else. Okay, so I like how that sounds. So now you can come to randomize and forget about this like top. It's probably gonna look like this for you. So you uncheck the pattern and we're just gonna stick to the levels. And what you wanna mess with here is normally like the pan and the velocity. Velocity obviously being like how hard you press the key. So you see down there that it changes when I mess with this. And pan is going left and right. So I usually just like pan it a little bit. Like sometimes you want that robotic, just like straight, so it really sounds like just a drum machine. But in this case, I usually mess with the pan a little bit and the velocity just a little bit like this, so it's not like super stiff. And it's not like a huge difference, but it does make a difference, I think. So, and obviously if you want more of a difference, you can. I don't really like that, so I'll keep it like this. All right, so I simplified it a little bit. So what I was going to show you next is if you come down here, you have a lot more you can do. So note pan, for instance, you can change so this like goes from left to right, which I like. Actually, like I said, for this beat, I would probably just keep it simple, but I'm just showing you this. This is a tutorial. And you can just randomly do some stuff. I know in this video previously before the crash, I randomized it using the randomizer plugin, but you can also do that here. Your own little. Put this on the completely on the left side. So this upper side being the left and the lower being the right, or the opposite, I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe so. Sorry. Yeah, so it's just a little bit more interesting to the ear if it's not just like completely straight on the same pitch. That works for certain songs, especially for really fast songs. I like to keep the hi-hat pretty simple. And there's a few other things you can mess with here too, like for instance, note filter cutoff frequency, like, or note filter resonance. Let's say we use the filter, and it's gonna sound a lot more dull if you bring it down. So you see, like it's filtering out the high frequencies. So, and up here is gonna be much sharper. So I mean that can create a cool little effect too, kind of like. So we can do the opposite here and see what that sounds like. I don't want it to get too cut off, so let's do something like this. All right, cool. So let's add a kick, and then we can let's add a snare actually. So all right, let's bring that in. Sounds like it works for this. And what else? I was looking for, yeah, kick. So I think I liked. I like kick 51 for this beat. So I'm gonna record that live. So obviously, you know, when you play it live, it's not gonna be perfect. Sometimes it sounds great. I know I was a little bit off here, so I'm gonna do Command Q first. You know, Command and circle everything, and then Command Q to quantize. That one is a little. Okay, you know what? Let's undo a couple of steps. And we got to make sure we can't be on a third, because then it's going to quantize it crazy. So I usually stick to 1/4. And let's do it again. Command Q. Okay, so I did things a little bit backwards now. Like I normally like to play the kick and the clap and the hi-hat first before I add the percussion, because sometimes the percussion and the kick is going to clap, and I feel like the kick is more important to put it in the right places. So let's mute that for now. And I'm going to play the 808 first. Yeah, let's keep it simple like that. And again, Command, highlight everything, Command Q. And, you know, let's set some quick levels. And you know, for trap beats, like normally you want the kick and the 808 to match. Um, it can get a little stiff if you always do that, so you got to listen. But as a it's a good idea to just pretty much Command C, copy that, and put it on a kick. Command V, and let's go in there. And you want to make sure everything is on C, because that's the original note for the kick. Of course, you can move it up and down a little bit and see if it works better with the 808. But let's listen. I'm gonna put a kick right here and see how that sounds. All right, cool. And let's see the percussion. Yeah, you see right here, the kick and the thing, the kick and the percussion is on the same place. So I'm gonna take away that kick and see how that sounds. That works. All right, and sometimes you can throw in a. Okay, that's obviously I put that on a track that has reverb, so let's move that. Okay. You know, you got to find the empty spots, or you can decide to like double the clap. You know, and then in the arrangement, you can decide to take away the snare in a few places, so it's not like the same thing. But yeah, I'm just gonna, I think. Quantize it. All right, cool. So let's just add like one sound just so we can arrange it easier. Let's just record something simple like that. I would probably add one more sound to this beat or something like that, but I don't want to make this video too long. So yeah, let's start arranging. And we know this is a different part, so I'm gonna get rid of this because I have that pattern there, and I'm gonna right click on it and go to split by channel. I don't know why it jumps there, but you gotta go back, and we're gonna click the top one that you want to use, hold down shift, and then click the bottom one. So we're gonna highlight everything, and then I'm gonna put it there because I'm actually gonna give this its own track. And then I'm gonna go back to the pen tool, hold down Command and highlight everything, and uncheck this first, and then do that, and then you can do Command B and it just duplicates it. So let's get a few of these. Actually, let's see what this one sounds like in the intro, and gonna get rid of that instrument, and let's get rid of I like that better. Yeah, I really don't like this stuff actually, but since it's just a demonstration beat, we'll keep it. I normally just start with half a hook because you don't want to give away too much, and you don't want the song to be too long now either. Yeah, so this is something that I normally do. I do a very stripped down intro, and then I bring in the hook for half a hook, and then I start the verse. And on the hook, you can pretty much throw everything in there, but on the first hook, you may want to hold back a little bit if you have like a lot of sounds going on, like because you want the song to be like have more energy towards the end. But you know, it really doesn't have to be that complicated sometimes, especially with you know, trap music is pretty simple. Like a lot of the beats are very simple. So usually when I arrange, I turn it to beat, so then you can easily make drops. And usually after 4 or 8 bars, I usually do a short little drop just to, you know, switch it up. It makes it more interesting for whoever writes to it and to the listener as well. So I'm actually just gonna bring in the kick just to give it a little bit more punch, but I'll wait with the other sounds for the hook. Let's see. right, so I was just counting to see how long it is. Like, uh, usually a song would have like 8 bar verse, 8 bar pre-chorus, so it totals 16. Uh, but on a lot of trap songs, because they're a little bit like a different tempo, the verse becomes too long sometimes. At least if you're trying to do something like commercial for radio, like you don't want it to be too much space between the hooks, because usually the hook is the more like most like memorable, catchy thing in a song. Uh, so I'm gonna make this one 12 bars. Since I'm in double tempo, like this beat is really slow, but it looks like it's really fast. Like this is 120, that's basically like house. But since I programmed it like trap stuff, uh, it's gonna look like 8 bars right here, but it really is 4. If you need to learn more about that, let me know. So let's try to use this other part we have here. So we break it down a little bit, like before the hook. Let's actually only do it like this. And I'm gonna take away the kick again, so it's like more impact when the hook comes in. And let's bring the percussion in there, so it's like a little different. And I'm just gonna do a really short little drop right. Yeah, so there's many different ways of doing it, but you usually want to have a little hook, have a stripped down beginning of the verse at least, then introduce something else after 4 or 8 bars, and then break it down a little bit before the next hook. And then we can pretty much just copy this, highlight it, hold down shift, drag it over here, and then if we feel it's needed, we can make a few changes here so it's not identical. And then usually it sounds really good to put the intro as the outro. So let's listen to the hook. Like now we have, hook actually needs one more to be 8 bars right there. And we're gonna move this over and copy that. So let's listen to the hook and then how it sounds like going into the verse. I also realized that this one has to be a little bit longer. So let's see, this song actually, yeah, this one is actually pretty long. So we could cut the verses down like a little bit, but 3 minutes is definitely fine. Like most songs nowadays are between 2:30 and 3:15 maybe. On the second half of the hook, I'm just going to take away the hi-hat a little bit. and then a little drop, just something subtle to kind of let people know that okay, now switching up again to the verse. I'm gonna bring in the percussion here too. Just a slight difference, you know. So you see, I'm just making like subtle changes on the second verse. A lot of people don't even do this. They just like keep it very simple, but I like to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like obviously, there's like a million different ways you can arrange songs, and but this is very very typical for you know modern trap, like the stuff that you hear today. Um, so like a simple intro, half hook, um, 8 to 12 bar verse, depending on the tempo. If the tempo is like a really fast song, like you can do like 16 bars, like meaning 32 here actually, like because 13 to 33 is, sorry, to 37 is 24, but it's really just like 12 bars because it's, you know, a programmed slow. Yeah, and then you just copy everything and make a few changes and put the intro as the outro, and you're done.